Hey everyone, Crimson Moon here, continuing my series on thoughts and reactions to the Game of Thrones Season 8 episodes. Episode 4 aired last night, and here I am this morning with some of my thoughts and reactions. Now, I'm going to be honest, at this point, we're 4 episodes in, and I am feeling increasingly disappointed with how this season is shaping up and how they're kind of putting a capstone on this entire series. So this episode in particular, episode 4, it's the episode right after the Battle of Winterfell, where the living fight the dead, and Arya flies out of nowhere and kills the Night King. So this episode opens up, it's tense and it's awkward, which is kind of cool that they have it feeling that way, because like everyone survived, they've all got this like nervous energy, they're happy to be alive, but they also know like things are awkward because we weren't all friends, we're not sure how things are going to go. So I thought the beginning of the episode was good with the tension and the awkwardness, and and Dany actually managed to kind of break it up by being clever at the beginning, giving Gendry a lordship, and everyone like kind of celebrating that. So, it was a good start. But from my perspective, the episode just kind of got a little bit boring, and I don't know. It just played out more like a TV show, a typical TV show than Game of Thrones, the Song of Ice and Fire books, the plot lines and everything, the vision that George R. R. Martin had. I felt like this episode was all from HBO rather than from Martin's real vision. And I'll say a little bit about that, but one hugely disappointing thing is that, through the books and the show, we've been building since like day one. Winter's coming, the Night King is coming with his army of the dead, and this is the true battle, blah, blah, blah. And in one episode, with no words from anyone about it, dude is killed by Arya. And then, we open up the next episode, and does anyone have anything to say about that? No. The recap from the previous episode didn't even have the Night King in it. So they had like Mormont, killing the dead giant, and different people who died or whatever, but they didn't even have Arya killing the Night King in the recap. That's how little HBO seems to actually care about this whole plot line. They're just like, let's just do away with this, we don't care. And we never heard the Night King mentioned in episode 4. No one explains anything more, like there's no reflection about what the Night King was up to or anything. We hear Jon give his speech about how all the dead people, should live on in our memories, but no one mentions the Night King. Bran doesn't give any explanation of what the heck he was up to, warging that entire time, or who knows what he was doing. We don't know. We don't even know what Bran thought about almost being murdered by the Night King. We don't hear from Arya about what it was like to kill the Night King. We hear nothing about it, and they just move on. Apparently that plot line is just done. Super disappointing. We've built up to this for like a decade, and that's it? Come on. Pretty disappointing, pretty boring. Doesn't seem like they're going to return back to it. So, I don't know. Meanwhile, Bran is still like rolling around Winterfell being weird, talking about how his wheelchair was made from 120 years ago. Okay, I don't care about your wheelchair. Tell me about the Night King. How is that what we decided to put in here? I don't know. Now, I said that I think that this episode was written much more like a TV show, a typical TV show, than as an adaptation of George R. R. Martin's books. And here's what I mean. TV shows love to kind of find, for each episode, a little theme, and then they just vamp on that theme. So, it's really easy to see in kind of like shorter 30-minute sitcom type of things like The Office, for instance. You'll watch an episode of The Office. There's usually a theme for that episode, and they'll kind of have it play out in two different places, in two different ways, or something like that, or on two different levels. And that's how writers can kind of craft a story that's cohesive and makes sense within itself. Now, the writers of this episode 4 did the same thing. I would say you could call it the episode of denied proposals. And there are a lot of proposals that were made in here, but there were 4 major ones that I can think of. 4 major denied proposals. Jon denies Dany. Arya denies Gendry, Jaime denies Brienne, and ultimately Cersei denies Tyrion and Dany. So just the fact that this theme is so pervasive, so prevalent in the episode, shows that it was very much like a TV show episode. And in a way that doesn't matter, but what I'm trying to get at is I think that when it's HBO that's really crafting the story, I think that the whole plot, all of it, kind of takes a hit. That it's lower quality plot when HBO's at the helm, as opposed to really having George R. R. Martin drive the main plot and storylines. So, I'll get into what are these denied proposals. So, Dany goes to Jon and begs him not to tell anyone that he is actually the heir to the throne, Targaryen. And so, but he's like, nah, I have to tell somebody. I have to tell the truth. I have to tell my family, my sisters. And so he goes and tells his sisters. And of course, Sansa keeps that secret for about 2 seconds. She tells Tyrion, who she seems to have something kind of going on with. And then Tyrion tells Varys the spider. And then at that point, it's like, the spider says, this isn't a secret anymore. This is just information. This kind of leads to a whole conversation between Varys and Tyrion about really treason. Which one of these people should actually be the heir to the throne? And Varys seems to imply, and Tyrion begs him not to, but Varys seems to imply that he's going to try to kill Dany or somehow take her out so that Jon can be the one who actually takes the throne, or at least to out Jon as the true heir to the throne. Next, Arya denies Gendry, who proposes to her after he gets his lordship, and then she heads south with the Hound. They're both kind of on their missions. Certainly, the Hound is trying to complete his story arc to kill his brother, the Mountain, and Arya, I'm guessing, is going to return back to her list. Possibly she wants to kill Cersei herself. She got the Night King, time to get the evil queen in the south. So she got the Night King in the north, let's go get the evil queen in the south. I'm guessing that's what she's up to. They both say they don't expect to return. I'm guessing, probably both of them will in fact die by the end of this, though there's only 2 episodes left. Next, Jaime finally hooks up with Brienne, and then he decides to go south. Now, the way the show crafted it, I thought was clever. They made it in such a way that it seems like maybe Jaime's going south to protect his sister or something like that. But I think he's actually going south to complete his redemption arc. He's going to try to actually kill Cersei because he's had it with her evil ways. And he's ready to be redeemed, and he wants to come back to Brienne. My guess is somehow Brienne is going to tragically die, possibly trying to save or protect Jaime in the end. And Jaime will be, complete his redemption arc, but he's going to be really sad. And then finally, the biggest proposal of all is that, first they all go, they're ready to go attack King's Landing and take out Cersei while she hasn't yet amassed her full forces or whatever. And out of nowhere, Greyjoy just shoots the dragon, who I thought was dead in the last episode. No, the dragon's actually alive. But then actually he just gets shot out of the sky and dies in this episode in just a most ridiculous way. So then they regroup. They decide they're going to go south and they're going to make a proposal before starting this giant war to Cersei that she can, put up the white flag, give up, and they'll let her live. So Tyrion goes and kind of pleads with Cersei. You know, he makes his proposal, so to speak, to Cersei about this whole situation. And Cersei asks if Missandei has any last words, then has the mountain chop off her head. So the whole series kind of began with a major beheading, and it's going to end with, you know, a relatively major beheading back in King's Landing, ultimately at the hands of Cersei. So that's somewhat poetic, somewhat cool that that's where they had it. But you can see that there's this theme. And there were other proposals, other denied proposals, or just proposals in general throughout the show. But those are kind of the four big ones. Maybe you could throw in Bronn's accepted proposal to Tyrion and Jaime, you know, that he gets to kind of double his offer to not kill them. Overall, I felt like this episode was just another giant setup episode, just trying to set the stage for the next episode, which will surely be, you know, a giant battle for King's Landing and the Iron Throne. I'd imagine that they'll pretty much end everything in this next episode, and then the sixth episode probably could be kind of like the aftermath of everything, and maybe they'll fast forward a little bit and see how things all pan out in the future. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, there were a lot of interesting pieces, you know, they have a lot of character points and moving stories ahead. But overall, I just felt like it's a little kind of disappointing, and so far this series just feels, this season is feeling unsatisfying. I'm worried that I'm going to be disappointed at the end of this whole thing, that it just won't feel like a satisfying end to the Game of Thrones saga. And, you know, Game of Thrones is all about disappointing, right? They set you up to want or expect something, and then they always kill that person or just have things go really sideways out of nowhere. That's kind of the trademark Game of Thrones George R.R. Martin thing. That would be fine with me if that's what they did, but I don't think that's the kind of disappointing that this is headed for. I think it's headed for just the usual old disappointing where the writers just don't do a good job and kind of screw up the ending, leaving us as the audience feeling, about the whole thing. You know, was it worth watching all this for this? I don't know. So we'll see. My guess is Dany will die. I think Jon will be offered the throne. He'll probably deny it, and then maybe Sansa and Tyrion actually end up on the Iron Throne. If I had to guess right now, that'll be my guess. We'll see what happens. I'm guessing it'll all get decided in the next episode. Now, looking at social media, I do see that there's a lot of positive response to episode 4, and people are like, that was awesome, and if you don't think that was awesome, then you're not my friend, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I'm kind of wondering if at this point, it'd be interesting to know, is there a divergence between viewers who read the books, you know, who read the books first and then started watching the show, versus viewers who have only seen the show or who kind of saw the show first and then started reading the books? So kind of the book audience versus the HBO TV show audience. I'm wondering if there's a difference between how the two groups are experiencing things and just what they're kind of expecting to happen from all of this. Yeah, perhaps they're looking for kind of different things. One group's looking for good TV, and, you know, the completion of the plot lines from the TV show, whereas the other group, the book group, is looking for completion of the books, which probably just isn't going to happen, and are far more concerned about the plot lines as opposed to just, you know, having it be good TV episodes. So we'll see. I mean, I'm still going to be watching. I'm still holding out hope that they're going to end this thing in some crazy, cool way. But I am feeling increasingly disappointed and worried that I'm going to be disappointed at the end of this. So we'll see. But I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section below. And if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button so that you can look out for future videos. All right. See you next week. Bye.